Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this ComNet workshop number 4, the last workshop of this event. So, in this workshop, hello, I'm Jatin, and we have Pranav here. We'll be presenting this last workshop. So, this workshop we'll be discussing about. 1 second. This is this recording started. Ishan, can you stop the recording and start it again once? It will be better.
Yeah, I've already started the recording.
Yeah, fine. So, okay, let me continue from here. So, this in this workshop, we'll be seeing about OSI model, and we'll be discussing the problem statements, and we'll also discuss the assignment we have already given. Uh, Going on to the deep into the workshop. So we have already seen this flow chart several times in the last workshop. So skipping to the next slide. Here, just imagine you have a letter. You're writing a letter to someone close to you, and you want them to read this letter. So just imagine the steps that involves this letter to reach them. So you write the letter and you put it in the mailbox. So from there, if, the postman comes and takes the letter from your mailbox to the post office, and now he posts it to the post box that is near to the receiver's end. So from there, other postman takes takes up your letter and goes to the mailbox of your receiver and drops it there, where the receiver comes, takes the letter and reads it out. So this is the tasks that are involved to send your letter to the person you want to. So taking this as the reference, let us get to know what is OSI model. So to transfer the data from one place to another, we are talking about the concept of networking. So this networking transfers data follows a procedure. So this ISO, International Standardization Organization, has developed a model of procedure that needs to be followed for the data transferring. So this description of this procedure is called the OSI model, that is Open System Interconnection, which is the primary architectural model for the networking, and this was developed in the year 1983. So taking any network in the world, every network is based on this OSI model, but there are a lot of developments or advancements, but this OSI model still remains the heart of the model for the networking procedure. We will also see how devices send or receive data. As we can see here, there are two types, that is hop to hop and end to end. So hop to hop indicates the flow of communication. Data passes through multiple devices with an IP address, and each generally is named hop. So hop by hop indicates the analyzing the data flow at layer 3, which we'll be discussing further into the workshop. And next comes end to end. This end to end indicates the communication happening between two applications. Maybe you and your friend calling on WhatsApp is end to end communication. So it doesn't care what is there in the middle. It only considers the two ends, that receiver and senders, or two people's end, whether they're talking or not. So this is generally layer 4 or the higher communication. So getting into what are the benefits of ISO or OSI model, layer model. So this OSI layer model divides the network communication process into multiple layers, which makes easier to troubleshoot. So as you know, troubleshooting is one of the common words we see in our regular lives now. So just imagine the OSI doesn't exist in the world. So let's imagine you're in the middle of a Gmeet or Teams meeting. Suddenly your internet is lost. So now as we don't know anything about the layers of communication or the OSI, so we cannot easily find the reason behind the problem that you're facing right now. just imagine if this connection is divided into much better layers to troubleshoot. So you troubleshoot at each layer to find out at which layer you have the problem. So it makes it easier to find the problem faster and easier. So it helps in troubleshooting. So it also supports multi-vendor developments. Multiple networks, hardware and software communicate for this data transmission. Each layer can interact with each other, but does not affect the changes happening on one layer to other. So we'll be talking about these 7 layers. So those are application, presentation layer, session, transport, network and data link, and physical layer. So you have to remember all these names of this layer, but there is a shortcut to remember it as I remember. So it is all people seems to need data processing. So if you need data, if you take a data from a sender, the data goes from the application layer first and into the presentation and so on till the layer till the physical layer. So through the physical layer, it is sent to the receiver's end, and from there this process happens in the opposite order. We'll discuss about these layers in the respective slides, but before that we look into the network protocols. So a network protocol is an established set of rules that determine how data will be transmitted between different devices over a same network. So essentially, it allows connected devices to communicate with each other, keeping aside all the any differences that are internal processor, processes, structure or design. So taking NetView, IPX, SPX, AppleTalk, TCP, TCP and IP are the examples of network protocols. I'm not going to stress much about NetView, IPX and AppleTalk as they are not quite important in nowadays as compared to TCP, IP. So, but still we'll look into the definitions and what are those. So NetView is nothing but NetBIOS extended user interface. So this is a LAN protocol, that is local area network. So this can be used over a LAN connection networks. It has very limited performance and no one is using right now. Very few people over a LAN network are using this. Coming to IPX, SPX. So this is standard and it supports wide area network. This is a vendor oriented protocol, that is which means that can be used only to the specified vendors. Like if vendor has designed an application for their work, so that application will only work at that computers of that vendor, whereas other vendors find it very difficult or experience poor performance if they are working on the same application. So coming to AppleTalk is similar to IPX, SPX. So it's almost the same as this AppleTalk. So now we're going on to TCP and IP. TCP means Transmission Control Protocol, or if you take IP, it is Internet Protocol. This supports WAN, that is wide area network, and this is not an vendor oriented thing. So this is widely used over the internet compared to the others. Other 3 we have discussed. So this is mapped to the OSI model. So as you see, that is the OSI model with 7 layers. So the TCP model is similar to this and similar to this, but we'll take this look at the end of the workshop, that is end of the OSI thing, which helps you get more in detail about this TCP/IP. Now coming to the application layer. Before we see much into it, I want you to remember the number of this layer. That is, this is the 7th layer of the OSI model. Now let's understand about this layer with the help of the image. So if you observe, I have linked the application layer to the web browser. So I need to access a particular web page. Now, so I request the content and then I receive it back from the to view the content. Here at this layer, the data is getting prepared into the required format to the service required. So we can see end-to-end communication. We can also observe software-related applications like HTML, CSS, as an example in each case of the web page. In the case of web page, so this layer sends the request and also accepts the request. So these are the common examples we can see the working of this application layer, like HTTP that is used for web pages, SMT at mail transfers, that is Gmail or something like that, and Telnet or SSH that is used for accessing data from a server at a remote location. Now, as you know, many companies are doing work from home, right? So they are using this data like this process to access the data from that server, and they are using remotely. So RTP is a real-time protocol, and the best example is when you watch any video on YouTube. So that is happening in real time, right? So this is real-time protocol. Next, going on to the presentation layer. So here we encrypt and decrypt the data to make it secure, like encrypting the data of the web page for viewing. This is responsible for common representation of the data between source and destination. This layer provides the information of data. Coding of syntax is also involved, and data is not only encoded but and decrypted, but it also is compressed or decompressed. So it is the lowest layer at which application programmers consider data structure and presentation instead of simply sending data in the form of datagrams or packets between the hosts. Now moving on to the session layer. So session layer, just remembering the number, it's the fifth layer in the open system interconnection, that is OSI model. So this layer allows users on different machines to establish active communication sessions between them. It is responsible for establishing and maintaining synchronization and terminating any sessions between end-to user applications, so on. So as an example, let's take just imagine if you're having a conversation with your friend. Now initially a connection is established to communicate, then the session the session can be controlled by you and your friend through the process of communication. And if you want to terminate the conversation, so you click the end button, right? So you're terminating the session. So these are the things to look after the session layer in order to have an uninterrupted conversation between you and your friend, or the data transfer. So this is nothing but the same as we have already discussed. So we are in this layer we are securing the connection. We are making we have to look into the dialogue synchronization. Like if you say hello, he says hello back. So that hello back shouldn't come when you are waiting for the message for a long period of time. So it has to be quick. So we need to look after the dialogue synchronization and stuff. So everything that happens in the session layer. So till now we have covered application, presentation, and session layers. So if you observe properly, all these layers are almost the same. These are used for content formatting. So these prepare network processes. These three layers from a single layer in TCP/IP model that we'll be looking later in this workshop. So now moving on to the next thing, that is transport layer. So here in this transport layer, this layer provides transparent transfer of the data between end users, providing a reliable data transfer service to the upper layers. So the transport layer controls the reliability of a given link through a flow control, or the segmentation or desegmentation or error control. So these are the basic function of the transport layer, is to accept the data of the session layer and split it into smaller units if needed, and pass these into the network layer. and ensure all these pieces are arrive correctly at the end user. So now when we are transferring the data, the different networks have different maximum transmission units, that is MTU. So MTU is nothing but the maximum size of one data piece that can be carried through a network. So when you are segmentation, so the size of the segmentation of each data is known as MTU. So the MTU size is acknowledged by the transport layer. So as you already know that acknowledgement is nothing but the response from the receiver to verify if the data is transferred correctly or is received to the receiver or not. So this layer also looks into reassembly of the data that is segmented before. Okay, so the data is might not be necessary to be in the right sequence during the transmission. Actually, it can go into, if you're segmenting a message, it can go in any order to the receiver end, but it is rearranged. So that comes to this part, sequencing. So sequencing is done once the information is reached to the receiver end. So once you get the information in any order you get, so this now you have to arrange this message into sequence. So there are sequence identifiers to arrange the following data received in order to view in the correct order. So I'm not going to get in detail, as this is similar to what we have discussed in the previous slide. So if you while reading the slides, you can just go through the slides, so it will be more helpful. These are all the facts we are going to see. This transport layer must work very easily while you're doing some live streaming. So to be frank, now we are doing live streaming, right? So I'm talking to you and this is a real time thing. So this transport layer must be efficient and proper if we need to build a good seamless network communication. So moving on to the network layer. So the network layer is a portion of this online communication which allows the connection and the data of packets between different devices or networks. So this network layer is the third layer, that is in the open in the OSI, that is Open System Interconnection model. So this layer provides the data of routing paths of the network communication. The data is transferred to the receiving device in the form of packets, that is via logical network paths in an ordered format. So in this logical connection setup, data forwarding, routing, and delivering error reporting are the network layer primary responsibilities. So now in this layer 3 can be either able to be supported connection, or that is physically or connectionless or networks, but not on both at the same time. So this network layer is considered as the backbone of the OSI model. So it selects and manages the best logical path, that is the virtual circuit, for the data transferring between nodes by assigning destination and source IP addresses to each data segment. In this OSI model, this network layer responds to requests from the layer above it, that is the transport layer we have already discussed, and issues this request to the layer below, that is the data link layer, which will be saying information about the source and destination host is already contained in the data link layer, that is the layer 2, but the network layer that interconnects between the networks, allowing the data to move between them. So coming to quality of the service, this allows for the prioritize the types of traffic and give you the best output pathway for your information to travel or for the communication to pass. So the router examines the header fields of all the IP packets and passes through it. Networking software is used to attach the header to each of the data packets that is sent, as well as to read it and determine how packets are handled at the receiving end. So logical addresses. So the address at this can be defined as the address at which an item, that can be a memory cell, storage element, or a network host, which appears to reside from the perspective of the executing application program. So a logical address can be different from the physical address, which we'll be discussing in the further slides, due to the operation of the address translator or the mapping functions. So the logical address and physical address have different mapping functions. So if we saw about the network and transport layers. So network layer forms the host and delivery line, and the transport layer looks into end-to-end reliable delivery or the best effort delivery. So going on to the data link layer. So this is the protocol layer in a program that handles the moving data. So the moving data of in and out, coming out of the physical layer, that is the layer below, the first layer. So data bits are now encoded or decoded and are organized in the data link layer before they are transported as a frame between the two adjacent nodes on the same LAN or WAN. So the data link layer also determines how the devices recover from collisions that may occur when node attempt to send two different frames at the same particular time. So now coming to physical address. So physical address refers to a memory address or the location of the memory cell in the main memory. So it is used both at hardware and software for accessing the data. Software, however, does not use physical addresses directly. Instead, it accesses the memory using the virtual address. So physical address now refers to some computer's MAC address, which is unique associated with the network adapter. So this MAC address is used for identifying the computers in a network. So moving on. So data link layer, as we know, it receives packages from the network layer, which we have already seen, and now this data. So the data we receive are now converted into small packages that are into frames, and thus the frames are transported to the next layer, that is the physical layer. So moving on, frame check sequence. So frame check sequence refers to the extra bit of and the characters added to the data packets, or the error detection can and the control over the data. So over the network, data is transferred in frames. Each frame is compressed of the bits of the data with the header. The header holds some the basic information such as the source and the destination point of the particular data. So this is known as the media access control, that is MAC address of the on the application. Another set of characters is added to the end of the frame, which are checked at the destination, that is the receiver's end. So matching this FCS, that is frame check sequence, this indicates the delivered, if the data is delivered correctly or not. So another function of this data link layer protocol is to control the flow when many different nodes are sending the data at the same time. So the layer now controls the amount of frame or the data that is sent through frame to transfer the flow of the data. So okay, these are so data link layer has some sub layers. So the sub layers are like we have already seen, that is hop to hop reliability and stuff. So here what happens is now here in the data link layer we use this hop to hop thing to transfer the data. So here from one IP address to another IP address, the data is sent. So the flow of the data is also seen here. So this is about the data link layer. Moving on to the physical layer. So this is the first and the bottommost layer of this OSI model. So this physical layer deals with the bit level transmission between different devices and supports electrical and some mechanical interfaces connecting to the physical medium. This is to synchronize the communication between two users. So this layer plays with most of the network's physical connections that are wireless transmission, like cabling standards and types. And this physical layer does not deal with the actual physical medium like copper, fiber, and etc. So some examples of this protocol that uses physical layers are includes digital subscriber line, integrated services over the digital network. So USB, that is universal serial bus, some a Bluetooth, Ethernet, controller area network, and stuff. So this is the physical layer that is in the bottom and application in the top. So if you can see, if I send a data, now that goes into application layer. From there, it goes to the physical layer through physical medium. Now that is transferred to the receiver's end. And from there, it goes into the data link, network, transport session, and presentation and application. And then it is received by the receiver. As you can see, this is almost similar to the letter scheme we have already discussed at the start of the workshop. So coming to OSI or ISO, OSI model is a conceptual model that characterizes and standardizes the communication function of a telecommunication or computing system. So this OSI model defines as a networking framework to implement protocols in the form of 7 layers. So now let's get into the TCP and IP. As I told you, we'll be discussing here. So it is a model to standardize computer networking. Now as we have seen the OSI model, now we are referring to this to that. So, but the difference between this and the OSI model is OSI model is not that widely used right now in the world, as the TCP model, however, is now the real deal. So thankfully, this is not that much different from that OSI model, so it is easier for you to get into it. So there are 4 simple layers here, 4 or 5. So that is application, transport, network, data link, and physical. So as you can see, this in the application layer, the application layer is here has consist of the application, presentation, and session layers here. So to get even better, when we compare this TCP model to the OSI model, if you remember, now this model has 5 layers as compared to the OSI model that has 7. So all these other layers line up nicely, which is greatly because we should already know the concept how it works. So let me remind the protocols at each layer. So at application layer, we have application protocols such as HTTP, FTP, and SMTP. The 2 most common protocols that have that are TCP and UDP. At the network layer, we have the internet protocol, that is IP. Oh, sorry, I missed that. In the transport, we have TCP and UDP. So at the data link layer, it contains Ethernet switches, um, uh, which are typically at this layer, although you can get it at layer 3 switches that have routing capabilities. Finally, we are getting into the physical layer. Think of everything we can touch that or you can feel here: cables, cards, network interface cards, and everything. So these all come under the physical layer. So okay, no, so we as we send the data at each layer, the data gets added on to the adds its own bit of information. So this process is called encapsulation. When we hit the physical layer, the data is transmitted over to the receiver device. The receiver device then starts to decapsulate the data. We saw this in the OSI model as also, but there we are going to, but here we will have a closer look. We'll start with the application layer, that is the layer 5. Then this passes down the next layer to transport information is added. Let's say that adds up to the TCP to the data, TCP header to the data. Each time the header is added, this will contain specific information. So example, this TCP header will contain the informations like source and the destination of the port numbers. So sequence numbers are and few more bits of information is also are present in the TCP. So we move on to the network layer where we add the IP header. So this will contain information of the source and and the destination IP address of the where this information has to travel. So lastly, now when we go to the data link layer, here we add not only a header but also a tail as well. So this header contains the main lead destination of the source of the MAC address and the tail of this information. The trailer contains once the transport information has been added, now it's called the segment. So sorry, adding this network layer of this information makes the segment a packet. Finally, once we add our data link information, now this becomes a frame. So from the data, when we add TCP, it becomes a segment. Now when we have IP address, it becomes a packet. When we have the tail and header at the end, it becomes a frame. Now this frame is transferred over a physical layer and sent and is received by the receiver end. So now once this data is transmitted at the receiver computer, now that starts to decapsulate the information. It will check the destination of MAC address for the frame. If the frame is destined for the for our own computer, now that is further processed into the computer and checks the IP address of the packets again. If the packet is destined for the our computer, and it is processed further. So this transport of information is read, and the application is also read. Application data is sent to the receiving application. So this is all about the TCP/IP. So we have some extra resources that are in the slides. So if you want to know more in detail about this OSI model, you can check out these links in the reference in the slides. So it will be helpful. So now I hand over to Pranav.
Hello. Yeah, so is my voice audible?
Yeah, Pranav. Yeah, it's audible. It's clear.
Okay, so let's start with the first problem statement. There is a first it starts with some story. In that they basically tell that a monster they are fighting among each other and they have to take control of a city and all. So it's basically a story to tell you what is the final goal of the PS. And so the thing is that to unlock the map of the city, we have to we have to find the password. So it's basically building up the story for what we have to do, and then it's saying that there are 3 files. So this is important. So mod.mat, it is a basically mat.mat file. .mat file is used to store data in MATLAB. So in that they are saying that we have a binary image with this dimension, PSK modulated, and frequency is 50 kilohertz and pulse duration is 0.1. So in the second workshop, we talked about modulation. So in that, the whole code was required these parameters in order to simulate the modulation thing. So these are the parameters that were defined in the second workshop. So sampling rate of this. So these are all the variables. So one thing, if you notice that if we divide frequency by pulse duration, it is equal to sampling rate. So they both mean the same thing only. Frequency by pulse duration equal to sampling rate. The second thing is compressed.txt. So it contains the name of the city and the hint. So Huffman coding, they are saying that they used Huffman coding to compress the file. The third thing is hint.pdf. So it is basically an encrypted PDF, and we have to put a password in it to decrypt the PDF. So then they're defining the task to solve the compressed.txt and find the name of the city and the password to hint.pdf. Then the next thing is to demodulate using the hint that is given in hint.pdf. We have to solve the mod.mat to find the coordinates of monster hotspots. So in the image there are a few circles, so we have to decode the center of those circles. So this is the basic PS. And the data of the image is in the encrypted form. So we have to, in the modulated form, we have to demodulate the data. So then it's basically the scoring and submission, how we have to submit the PS. And the last thing is to download, it's the link for downloading the PS. So let's start with the PS. So first thing was solve the compressed.txt and get the name of city from compressed.txt and also get the password to open hint.pdf. So this was the compressed.txt file. So in this you can see the compressed message, the frequency reference, and Huffman standard to follow. So so hack in there, they are saying you can write the code for Huffman coding. So I will show you that also. So the basic thing is that the received message has been encoded, and what happens for Huffman coding is we use the frequency to assign the bit value to all the alphabets. Yeah. So here, as we can see, like see. So this in the submission folder, this was the submission that I did last year. So continuing here, you can see that the spaces occurs most of the time. So using this, what happens in Huffman coding is that the bit value of spaces is of minimum length. This is the first rule, you can say. So so using frequency, we calculate the value of probabilities of each of these variables, like space, A, D, E, H, so on. In that also, there is one thing that the probability order of A is greater than E greater than T. So what this means is this is called lexicographical order. So what this means is that in Huffman coding, when we form the tree, so in that we have to ensure and in that we add the probabilities of variables that have minimum encoding. So let's say A, E, T all have the same probability. So to make it so to make a tree, we will combine E and T variables, because in lexicographical order they are less as compared to A. So second thing was that the thing, like after we combine E and T, a new variable is formed. So that variable is has more, if its probability is equal to A, then it has more priority as compared to A. So it will be it will be combined later. So this you might have to revise, I think. So in Huffman.cpp, I basically wrote this code to find the probabilities and make a tree and calculate the binary values for everything. This did not work as expected, but it gave me a basic idea of what I'm looking for. Like this sentence that you are seeing below, this was the answer. So what this gave me was the bit value and its Huffman encoding. So then I put that Huffman coding and bit value in this file, huffman_decode.cpp. So here you see the bit value, Huffman code, and the variable A. So like this, everything got a value. So you can find this how to write a Huffman code. There you will find the article on GFG also for that. So this was a string. So as we know, like so we can simply start comparing, like the first is 1 1, then we see which has 1, then 1, like that we can. So first is 1 1 0 0. So here we see 1 1 0, it is T. So like that you have to decode the string. So after that, let me run this code. So after running it, you will see that it decodes the message. So the message is the Monster Association headquarters is in a city Z and the password is silver. So in the PS, they asked to get the name of the city and the password. So we had to give the name of the city as a submission and use the password to open the hint.pdf file. So let me show you the hint.pdf. So this is the hint.pdf. So you can see it's asking for a password. So the password is silver. So after entering the password, we get the access. So the hint is this BW concom. So basically what it is, this is a function that is used to calculate. So it has provided the links also. So this will basically, you can read that this provides the centroid of the ones. So if it's a array and it has ones, so it will provide the centroid of the shapes in that array or matrix. So after getting this hint, we start to demodulate the code. So let's switch to MATLAB. So in MATLAB, this is ps1.mlx. You can find this in the GitHub repository link that I sent you. So first thing we had to do was load this mod.mat. So you can simply right click on it and load. So what will happen is these variables will be added to your workspace that was stored in the mod.mat file. So after we load them, yeah, so we do this. So after we load them, we these are the variables that they specified here. So 400 is image size, frequency, time pulse duration, uh, sampling, this was there. So these all I have written here. Then M received, then we take the received from the workspace. Let's run the section also. So we made the time sampling we did. Then they have said that it is PSK modulation. So in PSK modulation, there is one sine pulse, cos pulse, and they have been mixed together. So to demodulate it, we again multiply the message signal first by cos, then by sine. Then we convolve it. This is basically a low pass filter. Then we have two signals with us. But we do signal greater than 0. This is basically to convert the message signal into bits. So then we take the samples from that message, the signals that we get. So let's plot this also. Yeah, so this is the basically a plot of what is. Yeah, so this is a plot. So this might not be obvious currently. So this is like I plotted the signal, so it's 0 only. So as you can see here, it's mostly black. So it is 0, so that's nothing to worry about. So then after getting the signal, we take out the samples from it, and then we reconstruct that from the sig1, and we have to reconstruct. So these are basically two messages that are present as it's there in PSK modulation. So the next thing is to combine those two messages. So this is like what we do to combine them. So then we yeah, so after after we get M2 reconstructed and M1 reconstructed, we have to combine those two to get the images. So this is how we, combine them both. So like so uh, So like after we so this is a basically a way so M1 reconstructed so we have got two messages, M1 reconstructed and M2 reconstructed, but we don't know like which one is even places and which one is for odd places. So for that what we do is we put M2 reconstructed first, then we select all of these to arrange the bits. Similarly, we put M1 reconstructed first and we select all the bits. So this is basically a method to like, let me show you an example. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. So this is similar to M1 reconstructed, and we have to so if I do X all, so I get 1, 3, 2, 4. So what I have done is I have taken the first element from here, then second element here, third, fourth. Like that I am toggling between both the matrices. So this is what I have done here. So then I resize the whole message into 400 cross 400. Then I show to see like what I have got. So here what you are getting is uh, the monster hotspots, like they said in the PS. So I'll use the bwmorph function that, as they said in the no. So this is like in OpenCV you might have seen the morphological functions. So they are used to clean the image. So after doing this, like you see these small white spaces. So these all get black. So that I have done clean, open, clean. So this is that only. I was experimenting some here. So then after that I am show the so this was then BW concom. So it's like so like here you can see that small white these have been removed. So after that, if I apply BW concoms, it will calculate the centroids of these white spaces. So after like, so this is also morphological transformation only. I don't remember what this does. No. Yeah, so this will do something, and after that we apply this region prop CC centroid. It will calculate the centroid. So S dot centroid will give us the list of all the centroids that it has seen. So these are the variables of the centroids. So like in the submission, I have given the answer like decoded message, centroids of monster location and name of the city. So this was all for PS1. So PS1 was a interesting one, I would say. It was not difficult, but I had to use a lot of things in order to solve it. It was an interesting PS. Second PS was comparatively simple. As most of the things like they provided only. So in the round 2 of PS, we have to transmit a audio signal. It's basically bits only. So we'll be dealing with the data link layer and yeah, so we will be dealing with the data link layer and the physical layer here. So just like a revision, I would say. So in the data link layer, we add a few bits that deal with just the immediate next node. So like sending data from this node to the next node, we add some information for that purpose. So it includes a few things. We will come to it in a minute. In the physical layer, it's basically sending the data, like modulating, demodulation, all that. So what we had to do was implement the PHY and basic MAC for sending and receiving information. So frequency, it's given like we were free to use any frequency. So they were saying to like tweak with the modulation and use compression algorithm to lower bitrate error and latency. So I did not implement this anything. So this was like the noise that we have to add. And this was like scoring only. Then we have to download the file needed, and it was like scoring, right? Let's see if this works. Yeah, so these were all the files. So in this, like you can see, a lot of things have been commented. So these were like to help us write the code. So we haven't discussed what a function looks like in MATLAB also. So this is what a function look like. So a function, first we write function, then what we are returning equal to name of the function and the input to the function. So in this, we don't have to specify the type or anything. We can just simply write a variable like modulated. So modulated can be array, string, anything you want. And while returning also, like we can either return a matrix or we can return multiple also, and we have to separate them with commas. So like all these files look the same, like it's a function, and a lot of comment has been written to help us write the code. Basically, it's the theory behind all that is happening. Yeah, so first of all, they gave us a link to the OSI model. This is the Wikipedia link. Yeah, so this is the Wikipedia link. So like they are saying to design the main file to communicate with the others, and TA is 0.2 second and number of seconds. This is also all the information that was given in the PS. So I have defined these variables. So first thing was to generate the message. So we have to generate a 46 to 1500 bytes of message. So this is what IEEE defines. So this is what we are trying to build the Ethernet packet. So this is in the packet, the length of the message is a variable. So like I choose a random number of bits, and like 100 bytes I chose. So I took a and I make an array of it of 100. So then convert that 100 values into binary, and basically made a message out of it. So this is what a packet. So it's like a lot of bits only. So next thing was this is like so in the data link layer we have to give the give the source MAC address and destination MAC address. So it was like I randomly generated both of those. So what it is? So this was a MAC address is different than the IP address. MAC address is unique to the device that they are using. So its length is more as compared to IP address. That allows every device to have a unique MAC address. So IP address, like many devices can have same IP address, but MAC address is mostly unique only. You can find it in your mobile phone also, like your mobile phone has a unique MAC address. So converting to binary, so this is like to generate a MAC address, same thing has been done here as to generate the message signal. So the next thing is we are generating the CRC. So this is the polynomial. This is the same polynomial I gave you as assignment, most probably. So this is like a standard. So if we are using a 32 degree polynomial, this is what we use. So this is very efficient in detecting error. So com.crc generator is a uh, function in MATLAB that is used to generate the CRC based on the polynomial. It's an object in that we feed the polynomial, and same thing here. So CRC generator, we sent it to MacFrame. So let me show you the MacFrame file. So MacFrame to L3. So L3 is the part of MacFrame that deals with timing of the packets. Let me show you. So this is the L3 to MacFrame. So L3 is the basic part. Then L3 means layer 3. So layer 3, it's the network layer, I think. So till network layer, we have done all this. Then we have, you can say, come to the data link layer, I guess. Yeah. So yeah. So what we do here is we calculate the length of the packet. Length of the packet and convert it to binary, then we add it to the packet. So what we are doing here is the packet, the length of source address, destination address. We have to make a whole packet out of it. Then we generate the CRC of everything that's here in the data, and we calculate the CRC. This is the object that we got in the function from the main file. We get a 32-bit CRC, and then we add it to this data, and we return it as MacFrame. MacFrame equal to CRC generated data, and we add it to it only. So we have got the MacFrame, then we have to convert the MacFrame to phi. So this is phi is what we transmit. So what happens is, let me show you the phi. So we are doing a continuous communication, that like we are not sending everything continuously. So like we are sending it after a gap of some time. So what to synchronize the receiver, we send some extra bits. So what that extra bit do is, it's basically a 101010. So what that does is uh, it synchronizes the receiver to detect 1010, that the clock of the receiver is synchronized with the message. So preamble is like a constant, like everything is same. Uh, So like they are saying preamble is 10 for synchronization, and the SFD's start frame delimiter, it tells that we have started with the frame, and it is also like alternating sequence of 1 and 0. So to generate that sequence of 1 and 0, I use this function. So I gave it the number of bits, and like this will all the values will get same value only. Then I convert it to binary and put that here. So like you can test it. So below, like you can see, we get 1010. So then we add that also. Then we again add a length to the Mac frame. So like this is the data link layer. The previous one was network layer. So we have got the phi. Then we have to like this was like to check the connection. We sent a dummy message. So dummy message is like something random. So we sent it, we modulate it, demodulate it, and we check CRC detector. So in CRC detector, we send a demodulate signal, and it gives us the message and the error. So we check if the error is 0 or 1, and based on that we can decide if the data transmission is correct or not. So let me show you the modulate file. So this is like I have used PSK, I think. So this is like everything we learned in the modulation part in this workshop, previous workshop. So that only PSK modulation has been used. It's QPSK that has been used, and they have been combined, and noise has been added to it. Then now what we saw was we took the data, added the source destination address to it, and then sent it to the data link layer. So source and destination address are added in the network layer. So L3 to MAC frame, like in that part we are doing the things of the network layer. Then we sent it to the MAC to PHY data link layer, and then we send it to modulate. So it's the physical layer. So now we have to go back. Like after the destination has received the message, we demodulate it. So it's also covered in the previous workshop. So like we have demodulated it, then we have to convert the PHY to MAC. So that's PHY to MAC. Yeah, so that only. So like so we have got the PHY. Uh, it's contained preamble SFD. So these things we don't require. These will be used by the receiver to synchronize. Then there is length. So length is used by the receiver to decide how much it has to read. So like as we told before, the length of the MAC frame is different for each packet. So like this variable is used by the receiver to decide how much it has to read afterwards. So I have used the length variable to like start reading from the 17th and read for the length starting from 17. So this will give us the MAC frame. We have got the MAC frame now coming to network layer. So like we have reached the network layer. So this is the next node. So what will happen is this will after, when we send the data every time on each node we have to convert go to the network layer uh, then break the data and go to the network layer, then again from network layer come to data layer, physical layer, then retransmit the data. Because the IP address of the destination changes on each node. So that's why we have to go to network layer and change the CRC every time and then retransmit the data. So like we have received the data, we are like checking the CRC. If the CRC is correct, we can like so this is the final destination. So here if the CRC wasn't correct, we would have sent the in ideal case we would have sent the error message NACK to the transmitter. We convert MAC frame to L3. So like we start reading from the 17th and based on the length we take out the packet from that. So that is happening here. So finally so this is done. So we have got the recovered packet. So now we have to see so like we have got the packet. So in simulation also we can test if what is the probability that the packet is right. So we will perform this experiment a lot of times and see the probability that we are getting a good result. So ACK and NACK. ACK means acknowledgement and NACK means no acknowledgement. So if we get the right data, we send back ACK, and if we get the wrong data, we send back NACK. So this happens in the TCP protocol. So this is like mode confirm. So like we modulate the ACK part and we transmit it back and demodulate the ACK, the mod confirm message, and if like we see that the received is ACK, then it is a success, and if it's not an ACK, it's a fail. So like this is how we simulate a real world scenario into a simulation. So if we are trying to test some algorithms, like we have broken everything into a lot of small parts. So like if we are trying to test some modulation algorithm, we can implement it in the modulate.mlx file and it will get implemented. Yeah, so there is one thing you need to understand here. So like these functions you can't write in a live script. So you have to convert this live script into .m file. So for that you can do save export as, like save as you can do, and here you can select .m file. Then you can save it. In Octave it's simply .m only. So like after we get a .m file, we have to run it. So in the command line in PS2 submission I go and I simply write here main. So it will find main, a file named main in the current folder and simply run it. Yeah, so after running, like it's printing success. So after doing everything, we received acknowledgement and it is the message transmission was a success. So it's printing a lot of other things also. So that thing, like you can now start experimenting. For the assignment, this is so PS1 PS2 discussion is done. Like for the assignment, you can since like there were a few very less submissions, so like the form is open and we will discuss it some other time. That's all for this workshop.